Okay guys, so here's a video to kind of help you with something new that you need to know for Volbox. Basically what it wants you to do is to write a program that can calculate the volume of a box with user input. So up to this point you've been using cout statements to print information or text to the screen. Now you're going to learn the cin statement where you're actually letting the user input numbers and then it takes it into the code and then it displays something on the screen. So that's what Volbox, that's what it's asking for. It gives you the formula that you're going to need. So there's a couple things that I'm going to go over here. I'm not giving you the code to this. You're going to use the information I'm giving you in this video to help you create the code you're going to need for this project. So I'm going to start kind of at square one if you remember how to open a project, and maybe you just want to skip ahead. If you need the review to open a project correctly and open a source file and change it so that the window stays up, then maybe you want to watch. So I'm going to go Programs, Visual Studio 2017. When that comes up, I'm going to go to File, New, Project. Visual C++ is still highlighted. I want an empty project. I want to name it. Okay. My location says C. That's where I want it. That is not where you want it. So you will click on Browse and change it to your Z drive. After you do that, click OK. Now we need to create the source file so that we can actually write code. So right-click on source files, go to Add, New Item. I want the first C++ highlighted. I want to name it the same name. That way it's easier to find. And you should not have to worry about the location here. It should already say Z drive if you changed it when you open the new project. So then we'll click Add. That brings up my coding box. One more thing before I start coding, I need to right-click on Project, go down to Properties, the arrow next to Linker, System, Subsystem, Console. Apply, OK. So again, that is the process that you go through every time you're opening a new project. Now, I named mine Volbox, although that's not the code that I'm actually putting in here. I just did that for your purposes to open this project. So remember, at the beginning of every project, you need two comments. The first one needs to be the title of the project. Second comment needs to be the purpose. Okay, in fact, I'll just keep this. Oops. Title, purpose. So you're filling that information in. Then we need hashtag include caret IOStream. We always need that. Then using namespace, std, semicolon, we always need that. If you're missing any of those, you're going to start getting things in red underlined because the code's not going to recognize the command. Then we want to use int main. Enter down. I need to open a brace. My code goes in between those, so I don't delete the right one. The easiest way is just to hit enter, and now I'm in between, and I can write my code, and I don't have to worry about losing that brace later. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is declare a variable. In yours, it's going to be volume. So for mine, maybe I'm going to say area, because like I said, I'm not giving you the code for this. So I'm going to say int, because it's going to be an integer. It's going to be a number, so I'm declaring it as an integer. And I'm going to call mine area. Remember, you can use capitals, but anywhere in your code after that, you need to be consistent or it will not recognize them as the same thing. Okay, end it with a semicolon. So I declared my variable. Okay, There's also things that I need to declare before I can put that formula in. So let's say area of a rectangle, area equals length times width. So I need to declare two more variables. I need to declare length. I can call it length or I could call it L. I'm going to call it L. Actually, I'm going to call it a capital L because that almost looked like a 1. Okay, I need to declare my width. So I'll just stay consistent, capitalize that. So when I use it later, they need to be capital if that's what I'm doing. Now that I declared all my integers, all the different variables that can have data going in for them, then I can start asking some questions. So to get input from a user, I need to ask them something. Otherwise, they don't know what it is I want them to input. So maybe I want to ask the user, what is the length of the rectangle? So I'm going to use a cout statement, caret, less than, however you want to look at that. What is the length of the rectangle? Question mark. End my quotes, caret, and I want to do an end line so that everything's not smushed together. Here's where your cin goes. It's only going to let the user input something if you have a cin, console input. So we're going to do cin, which is cin. And here's the other trick. These caret symbols, these less thans, when we're doing a cin, go the opposite way. They go greater. So I use 2 of those. So cin. And I want the integer, the variable that represents what they're putting in. I need to tell the computer where to store whatever number they're typing. Well, I ask them their length, so whatever they type in, I want to be stored in my integer or my variable L. I end that with a semicolon. Okay. So the next thing, and guys, you see this spacing on my screen? I can keep things, I can do my next cout right here, or I can do 2 spaces and do a cout. It all is up to you and your preference. I like to kind of keep things separated so I can see what's happening where. I like putting the spaces in. You don't have to. If you can understand it all smushed together and that works fine for you, then use that. So now we need another cout statement. I need the width before it can calculate. So I'm going to ask the user, what is the width of the rectangle? Notice I'm using capitals, I'm using punctuation. Again, you want this to be professional looking. You don't want things with a bunch of errors. I'm going to end that line. So then I need a cin statement. It allows the user to input something and tells the computer what variable that value is being stored in. So this is width. I'm going to use my W. So now those were the 2 things that the user inputs. From here, it is up to my code to calculate the area. So now at this point, I need to tell it what the formula is. So we need to put the formula in there. So I have area equals, and again, I could put spaces in there. So area equals length times, we use the asterisk for times, width, which you learned in the other project. So there's my formula. End it with a semicolon always. It'll space it out if you didn't. And then the last thing I have to do is I have to tell the computer to print it out to the screen. If it doesn't print it to the screen, the user doesn't get to see what it is. It's going to calculate it and not put it anywhere. So we're going to do another cout statement. The area of the rectangle is, and I'm going to put a space so it doesn't jam the number right against it. I'm going to do 2 arrows, and I want it to print the area, and then I'm going to end L. And last but not least, I have to return 0. And then obviously you guys would need 2 additional comments somewhere in here in the code explaining why you did what you did. You can run it, see if it works. So it comes up, says, what is the length of the rectangle? Well, maybe the length is 7. Enter. What is the width of the rectangle? Maybe it's 5. Enter. So the program tells me the area of the rectangle is 35. So looking at that, I'd probably want to go back and put a period after it puts that variable in. Okay, maybe I want it to be spaced out to look nicer. Maybe I want the 7 and the 5 right after the question so then I don't put end else. The formatting part is up to you to make it look nice, crisp, and clean. So use what you learned here, see what you can do with Volbox.